yesterday, remember when we were talking about rhetoric and all the rhetoric has to stop? So yesterday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt claimed that politically charged rhetoric from the left inspired the Correspondents' Dinner shooter. But Democrats are pushing back. Take a look.
These are Democrat elected officials calling for war against the President of the United States and his supporters. You are inspiring violence by people who are already mentally ill.
He's talked about the death penalty for General Mark Milley. He has called for jailing his political opponents, me included. So this is a president who unfortunately slips into that mode so easily.
The notion that any of us are concerned with so-called criticism from these phony Republicans as it relates to anything that has been said, certainly as it relates to the comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time. You can continue to criticize me for it. I don't give a damn about your criticism.
And, you know, there were Democrats, independents, and Republicans in that room.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Stop. This has got to stop. This has got to stop. You got to stop pointing the finger. You guys brought it up yesterday. You have to stop pointing fingers. This was an act of one person, like we've seen over the last few years, this one gunman.
And you know, what's really sad to me is that on Saturday after this happened, I saw something from this president that I hadn't seen in a very long time. He said, he called for Americans to put aside their differences and unite. And he said, we have to.
The president of where?
The president of the United States.
Wow.
The PCA. Okay. Yes, President Trump said, we have to resolve our differences. There was a record-setting group of people, and there was a tremendous amount of love and coming together. I mean, that sentiment coming from the president, I thought maybe there was a change of heart because of...
Well, did he miss Caroline Leavitt? Wasn't she in the room?
The message just went poof. And the other thing that I'll say is, you know, she's talking that this was a Democratic attacker. He was actually a registered independent. And so I don't even know where
it doesn't matter. It's
from.
one person. It's
that's the point, because he was clearly targeting the Trump administration and Trump officials. That much we know. But to try to apply this to anyone who may be a Democrat is just perpetuating the problem. And my thing here is the president is never going to change. He's not going to change his rhetoric. We're not going to see something different.
He changed quickly on Saturday.
I thought that after the first assassination attempt against him, which was horrible, and I even said on CNN, we might hear a more subdued president. I then got roasted in a Daily Show clip of people thinking we'd see something different. But I don't think that gives permission to the rest of us and the rest of our politicians to just go down to the earth's crust because we can't expect him to do better. Like, unless we want everything to be bad, I think everyone should take the accountability and hold themselves to a higher standard.
This is a case of the pot calling the kettle orange, and I will let me name a few things. I mean, remember when he called Mexicans rapists and criminals?
Yes.
Remember that? Yes. Remember when Paul Pelosi became the source of a lot of jokes after he was violently attacked with a hammer in his own home? Remember when Robert Mueller, the FBI director, died? Trump said, good, I'm glad he's dead. I could go on, but we're running out of time.
We were talking about political rhetoric being blamed for violence.
So what I wanted to add is, beyond political rhetoric, the average American adult spends 2 to 2.5 hours on social media. And when you look at social media right now, you look at incentives that the outrage incentive. The more you engage in fear and anger, the further and faster what you're saying is going to get out there. We have algorithms that make sure we're hearing mostly what we already makes us mad and we already feel, which makes another perspective that much more demonized. It's also dehumanizing us. As we sit in front of screens, it's much easier to rage and hate when you're not looking at an actual human. And it's making small minorities sound louder than they are because you're in these echo chambers. But it's not just about how we're hearing things, it's how we're now speaking to each other. Because that theatrical, hyperbolic language is the currency of that space, it's kind of creeping into all our lives. So I do think it's an important moment where you always say, this is on us. I hope DC finds ways to regulate social media, but because there's so much money in tech, I don't have a lot of faith they will. This part is on us. Once you've seen the alarms are going off, we have to fix it ourselves, because that is part of the problem, is how we talk to each other. It's not just politics.
We are planning to vote in November. He has a 33% approval rating, which will probably go into the 20s.
It's bigger than Donald Trump, though, and I think
shortly.
we make a mistake by pretending that all division in this country springs from one man. I think this is such an important point. I want to
Excuse me, it does.
No.
He started
There's
this.
There's so much more in this country. It predated Donald Trump. It will post-date him. This is not all going to go away when he's out of office.
You know, the cult needs a head, and he's the head.
I want to point to an example of social media showing us the positive time in these moments. So Jared Moskowitz, a Democrat from Florida, pointed out that Steve Scalise, who survived a deadly assassination attempt in the congressional shooting, grabbed him because Steve Scalise has a security detail and brought Jared Moskowitz with him. Jared famously represents the Parkland district, where one of the worst school shootings took place. And he pointed out this is a moment of humanity where two people who are polar opposites on the political spectrum were like, I know this guy has trauma from shootings. I know he does. And they went together. I want to see more of that, not people trying to one-up each other in the hateful rhetoric against each other and trying to incentivize this kind of nonsense.
But I do think, though, when you're talking about social media, one of the things that people should recognize is that only about 20% of Americans are on social media, especially on places like X and Facebook. Out of those 20%, 80% are the loudest. So to your point, saying that, you know, those 80% of that echo chamber of people speaking so loudly, it really isn't the majority of Americans. Right. It's a small subset of those angry, cultish Americans that seem to have that megaphone. But if we keep in mind that it is not the majority, it is a minority, it is a fringe that is doing that, I think, as Whoopi often says, we can come together and do this and go forward together.
Keep in mind that it's also bots. There's also all kinds of stuff.
Correct.
Listen, if you stay off it, except for when you absolutely need to look at it, it will do more for you. You'll breathe better.
Oh, yeah.
You'll breathe better.